WWE wrestlers who are enemies in real life. Let's watch.
WEB without rivalries. Although many of the epic storylines we've seen on WWE TV over the years have been just that, storylines, there have been cases where pro wrestlers had real-life animosity backstage, even when the cameras were off. This dynamic added a layer of tension to the feuds we saw play out on our screens. Today, we will cover all of the WWE wrestlers who were enemies in real life. Let's get started. The bitterness between Edge and Matt Hardy is well known among wrestling fans. Matt and Jeff Hardy debuted in WWE simultaneously as Edge, who later chose Christian as his partner. They became great friends and toured the roads together. Lita began her WWE career as Essa Rios' manager, but she quickly abandoned him and joined Matt and Jeff as Team Extreme. Lita and Matt started dating, and their bond grew stronger. When Matt Hardy was sidelined for nearly a year due to a major knee injury in 2004, Lita began traveling with her and Matt's close buddy, Edge. Lita began an affair with Edge when Matt was on the road. Edge was married then too. Matt Hardy found out, and he was enraged, to say the least. Matt Hardy's contract was terminated after he publicly announced that his then-girlfriend Lita was having an affair with his friend Edge. However, once the affair became public, WWE fans expressed their feelings to Edge and Lita, with the majority siding with Hardy. Fans booed Edge and Lita, chanting, "We want Matt," and "You screwed Matt." Lita faced far worse, and some very filthy things were screamed at her. With the real-life drama impairing the program, WWE had to rethink their strategy and turn Edge and Lita into a despised on-screen couple. Fans protested online in support of Matt Hardy, and a petition with 15,000 signatures requested that Hardy be reinstated. Hardy eventually returned to WWE and feuded with Edge and Lita on screen over the real-life treachery. On his return on July 11, 2005, he attacked Edge backstage. During the assault, Matt called Edge by his real name and swore that he and Lita would pay for their deeds. Their feud hit a climax at SummerSlam. Lita's WWE career was on the line as Matt Hardy faced Edge in a till death do us part match. Edge was powerless to stop Matt Hardy from winning the contest. The conflict between the two was piping hot. From one Hardy boy to the next, let's talk about some backstage heat between Jeff Hardy and CM Punk. During their 2009 feud in WWE, CM Punk made comments about Jeff Hardy's troubled life that didn't sit well with the charismatic enigma. When CM Punk first joined WWE, he was already an established name on the indie scene. In 2008, he won the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania and cashed it in to become World Heavyweight Champion for the first time. This title reign, however, wasn't that good. The next time he won the title, and he did so by winning the Money in the Bank briefcase again the next year, fans started seeing a change in his attitude. This was the first time Punk was turning into a full-fledged heel in WWE after working there for 3 years, and this resulted in a very personal rivalry between the straight-edge superstar and the charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy, who he later defeated for the championship belt. Shortly after Punk won the Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania 25, he was drafted to SmackDown. On May 1st, Teddy Long booked a non-title match between him and World Champion Edge. Punk had announced that he would cash in his briefcase after he beat the Rated R superstar that night. In the main event, he defeated Edge, and as he was about to cash in his briefcase, Umaga attacked Mr. Money in the Bank. After Umaga stopped Punk from cashing in again the next week, WWE booked a singles match between them for Judgment Day. Umaga won this match, and they had a rematch at Extreme Rules in a Samoan strap match. Punk defeated him this time, and then he cashed in his Money in the Bank on Jeff Hardy, who had just beaten Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship. This was Hardy's second world title victory in WWE. While his first title reign lasted over a month, this one lasted minutes. Shortly after, Hardy defeated Edge in the ladder match. CM Punk cashed in his MITB contract. The referee rang the bell, and Punk immediately hit Hardy with Go to Sleep. Hardy surprisingly kicked out and then used the inside cradle on Punk for a 2 count. Punk gave him a disgusted look and nailed another GTS, and this time, he got the pinfall, and just like this, became the 2-time World Heavyweight Champion. Over the next few weeks, Punk completed his heel turn. His straight-edge lifestyle became his personality as he believed he was better than everyone. Punk was just too convincing as a heel, And he seemed right even when he insulted the fans and Hardy, who had real-life drug problems. He also used his straight-edge lifestyle as a weapon against the fans and called them pathetic weak people. Punk also brought up Hardy's substance issues, his 2 WWE wellness policy violations, and his struggle with alcohol and drugs. While Hardy beat Punk for the title at Night of Champions, he won it again at SummerSlam. The rivalry culminated in a loser leaves WWE steel cage match on SmackDown, which was Hardy's last WWE match until he returned 8 years later. However, 1 week later, Hardy's entrance music hit, and the fans got excited until they realized it was Punk who had worn Jeff's attire and his face paint, and further mocked him. Some months later, a video surfaced on the web where a drunk Jeff Hardy ranted about Punk's straight-edge lifestyle and called him a nerd. Hardy even claimed that he had made Punk a superstar and raised his middle fingers at him. Hardy said everyone was different and that not everyone could be a straight edge like Punk, or he would rather live on Pluto. Jeff also said Punk was too cocky inside and outside the ring. We all know that women usually cause significant feuds among guys, especially between best friends, but this time, it was the men themselves. Ric Flair and Mick Foley are 2 wrestling giants. While their careers ended decades ago, they are still revered for having bled torrents for the pleasure of the masses. Foley and Flair did not get along. Flair was clueless at first, but Foley took several digs at the Nature Boy, criticizing his promo technique and claiming that, unlike Flair, he put his body on the line and threw the crusher for the fans' amusement. This was in response to Flair's autobiography, in which he referred to Mick Foley as a glorified stuntman and argued that Foley had no choice but to wreck himself because he had no other way of getting over with the fans. Ultimately, he dubbed Mick Foley a giant mark of himself, which irritated Foley. Foley also wrote extensively about Flair in his book. Flair was a brilliant worker, but he was not a great booker, according to the hardcore legend.
Basically to say you ain't got no real talent. The reason why people like you so much is because you do all these crazy ass things, crazy ass stunts to yourself, and people find it entertaining.
2004, these 2 crossed paths on screen and backstage. During a Raw filming in December, Foley and Flair ran into each other, and the situation swiftly escalated. Flair offered his hand for a shake at first, but when Foley said he didn't want to shake his hand, Flair curled the same hand into a fist and punched Foley. People from the surrounding area intervened to separate the 2 icons, but they continued to rage at each other. These 2 seriously clashed on screen 2 years later. The conflict began when Ric Flair called Foley a glorified stuntman again, and Foley responded by calling Flair a washed-up piece of crap who only made it famous in the wrestling business because he had friends in the right places. While they first clashed in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Vengeance 2006, the I Quit combat at SummerSlam was the climax of the feud. The match was hard to watch. Ric Flair was wrestling in his late 50s, and it was like witnessing 2 grandpas fight. Flair won the bout after putting Foley through hell, thumbtacks, and barbed wire, and Foley was forced to say, "I quit." That was the conclusion of their feud on WWE, and they eventually buried the hatchet. However, they are not the only drama queens in WWE. Wherever there is a debate or feud, one man cannot be overlooked: Matt Riddle. Riddle has always found himself in fights with other WWE stars, and this time, he found himself in one with Seth Rollins. At the time, Lisa, Riddle's wife, made harsh remarks about Becky Lynch on an Instagram post. She singled out Becky, stating she was tired of divas being straight, skinny, jiggly fat. While her post was disguised in an attempt to express this with good intentions, it came off as an unnecessary personal assault. Rollins had a problem with this. The bad blood between them grew stronger, especially on Rollins' side, who repeatedly stated in interviews that he would never work with Riddle. On the other hand, WWE chose to capitalize on the feud by bringing their hatred to the screens, and they provided us with highly entertaining moments in SummerSlam, Clash at the Castle, and the main event of Extreme Rules in the main roster's first Fight Pit battle. One of their most iconic clashes occurred on Raw when they fought for Seth Rollins' United States title, despite rumors that they had both settled their disputes by then, which is why they accepted WWE's offer to cash in on their feud. Eventually, Matt Riddle apologized for his ex-wife's comments, and they buried the hatchet. Now, speaking on controversy,
That's crazy,
CM
but that's
Punk
what
faced
started it.
numerous opponents during his 434-day WWE title reign. He wrestled inside the squared circle with Daniel Bryan, Jericho, and The Rock, but no one thought his battles against Ryback would become dirt sheet topics. Appearing on Colt Cabana's podcast, Punk laid into Ryback, stating how working with him took decades off his life. I'm already beat up, and now I have to wrestle steroid guy, and he's very hurt, sometimes deliberately. Once, he kicked me in the stomach as hard as he could and broke my ribs. I never got an apology for that. Ryback replied by taking digs at CM Punk.
Real? Dirty.
On social media. He revealed that he would continue to do this because CM Punk's comments about him were inaccurate, according to him, and hurt him from a professional standpoint. After CM Punk announced he had to have surgery in the week he won the AEW World title, Ryback took to Twitter and posted, "Karma rules. It doesn't seem like these two will be grabbing coffee anytime soon. We've largely talked about men, but there have also been real-life feuds between the divas. Since we have mentioned CM Punk, mentioning his lovely wife is only appropriate. Former WWE Divas champion AJ Lee and the Bella Twins had a rivalry that fans will never forget. As their exchanges became more personal, their rivalry spiraled out of control. AJ was known for her sharp tongue and wit, and she didn't hesitate to speak her mind. A reality show called Total Divas began in 2013 with the Bella Twins as primary cast members. This heightened the feud, as AJ publicly declared her dislike for the show and slammed the Bellas for valuing fame and popularity over wrestling talent. AJ Lee cut a nasty promo against them, claiming that skill isn't sexually transferred, a dig at the Twins' connection with John Cena and Daniel Bryan at the time. AJ's insults were not taken lightly by the Bella Twins. They launched counterattacks inside and outside the ring to prove their worth and demonstrate to AJ that they were more than pretty faces. Fans primarily supported AJ Lee, chanting, "You can't wrestle," ridiculing the Twins every time they appeared. Tensions between them remained high during their time in WWE. However, they may have subsided after AJ Lee retired in 2015. Now, AJ Lee and the Bella Twins never liked each other. These two women we're about to talk about were best friends at one point. Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair came up together in WWE as part of the Four Horsewomen, but their friendship suffered over the years. In WWE, alliances are forged and tested, none more captivating than the friendship between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Their journey has been a roller coaster of triumphs and tensions, from the early days of shared dreams to the pinnacle of WrestleMania to a bitter downfall. What started as an unbreakable loving bond took an unexpected turn, leaving fans speculating about the intricacies that led to their apparent fallout. Becky Lynch's book has been released and gives people further insight into just how close these two women's wrestling icons once were. While wrestling brought the two together, it was also what ultimately drove them apart, as Becky Lynch's rise to the top of WWE put her on an on-screen and off-screen collision course with Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair's love for each other wasn't just a facet of their on-screen characters. It was a genuine friendship that grew stronger through the trials of their early wrestling careers. From the moment they stepped into the WWE scene, their paths intertwined. It was a friendship based on mutual support and shared dreams. As they navigated the challenging landscape of NXT, Becky and Charlotte found solace in each other's company. Their bond deepened as they faced rigorous training, relentless travel, and the uncertainty of their futures. In her autobiography, Second Nature, Charlotte Flair reflected on the pivotal role Becky played during times of disparity in opportunities. Despite facing uneven chances in the spotlight, Becky's unwavering support became a cornerstone of their friendship. She wrote, "What I was most thankful for during this time was that Becky was my travel partner. We navigated the main roster and the highways and byways of the United States together. We trained together and worked on honing our skills. Becky was the Thelma to my Louise. That's true friendship. Even if I was getting pushed and Becky wasn't, she was there for me. I can't wait for the day when I repay her." Their social media became a canvas for the world to witness their genuine affection for each other. Quirky posts, behind-the-scenes glimpses, and heartfelt messages showcased a friendship that transcended the confines of the squared circle. Their journey wasn't without its share of dangerous moments. A harrowing car accident that could have ended their lives brought them even closer. There's nothing like a near-death experience to bring two people close together, and that's exactly what happened to these two women in 2017. Becky Lynch wrote in her book that the two were getting onto the 8-mile exit in Detroit, Michigan, when a car zoomed by them and collided with their car. I was 99% sure we were going to die, as I prayed I wasn't veering into any passing semi-trucks. Although their car was wrecked, and Becky Lynch believes she suffered a concussion and a minor wrist injury, Charlotte ended up being perfectly fine. However, Beck Lynch was a bit traumatized about driving for the next while as she was driving the car. SummerSlam 2018 was when the bonds between Beck Lynch and Charlotte Flair became apparent. Although most fans know of the on-screen breakup between the two that happened in their triple threat match against Carmella at the event, behind the scenes, Becky Lynch could tell that there was a shift beginning. Although Charlotte Flair had told Becky Lynch to lay in the beatdown that was coming, Becky wasn't so convinced of Charlotte being cool with her heel turn. I walked back and went through the curtain. Charlotte soon followed me, and we hugged and thanked each other. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Oh yeah, woman, I'm good," she responded unconvincingly and a little standoffish. I knew she was upset. I wasn't sure if I hurt her physically or mentally. You would think she is untouchable by watching her on TV, but she's an emotional and sensitive lady who wanted to be liked. The once unbreakable bond between Becky and Charlotte began to show signs of strain. As fans rallied behind Becky's demand for recognition, she became the man, achieving a stardom that even Charlotte hadn't experienced. Becky later revealed on the MMA Hour that Charlotte struggled with her success. She said, "People were rallying behind me, and this turn would turn me into a different league. She couldn't take that and has never been able to take it." Confirming this, Becky's ex-boyfriend, Jeff Dye, who was dating Becky in 2018, controversially disclosed on the Wrestling with Freddie podcast that Charlotte had issues with Becky taking the spotlight. He said he couldn't believe how much storylines affected real-life bonds. Charlotte had a hard time when Becky was starting to become the face of the female division. It was interesting to see that it affects their personal life
jealousy
when you're struggling on the roster. Charlotte, speaking on the Broken Skull sessions, admitted it was a clash between two top women for the one spot. She wants to be the best.
Wow,
I want to be the best.
I'm not surprised.
You've got two
though.
alphas who don't see eye to eye. Despite their falling out, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair would still compete and put on classics in the fall of 2018 and early part of 2019. It did seem, though, that Becky Lynch was set to take on the hottest female star in combat sports, Ronda Rousey, in the main event of WrestleMania 35. Controversially, however, Charlotte Flair was added to the match to make it a winner-take-all triple threat match for both the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championships. This was controversial since, as great as Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch were in the ring, this match had been done to death by this point. Also, Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch was a hotly anticipated matchup that the two had been building up brilliantly on both WWE programming and social media. It seems that Charlotte Flair knew this and expressed frustration backstage on the night of WrestleMania 35, as told by Lynch in her book. Charlotte, TJ Wilson, our ref, and I sat in the warehouse waiting for Ronda, whose driver had taken her to the wrong spot. TJ read out the creative direction for the match. I was to win via armbar on Rousey, and we should barely touch. This would leave Charlotte to be relied upon heavily. Hearing the direction, Charlotte was on the verge of tears as TJ went on. "It just feels like I'm the third wheel," she cried. The match ended up being the final one on a ridiculously long WrestleMania 35 show, which lasted 7 hours and a half. By this point, the crowd was very tired, and the bizarre finish of the match, with Ronda technically kicking out of Becky Lynch's pin attempt, but the referee counting anyway, made it all the worse. Becky notes in her book that to this day, she isn't sure whether Rousey's kickout was deliberate or accidental. Despite their growing tensions, Becky and Charlotte made history by main eventing the first ever WrestleMania for women alongside Ronda Rousey, which Becky won. Years later, the tension escalated with an unscripted, heated title exchange on TV in
I feel like she
October
did that on purpose. Now
2021,
that I know,
leading to reports of a
in
backstage
context.
fight. Their last clash at Survivor Series 2021 showcased not only their professional rivalry and unmatched skill, but also the emotional turmoil of a broken friendship. After winning the match, Becky cried in a post-match interview, reminiscing about their lost friendship. Charlotte expressed respect for Becky in an interview with BT Sport after that match. She said, "I genuinely have nothing but respect for what Becky has accomplished. She does make me better. The competitiveness is awesome. Seeing her as a mother, I'm so happy." In a surprising turn of events just before Survivor Series 2023, Charlotte Flair, needing a final team member for War Games, reached out to Becky Lynch, marking their first on-screen interaction in 2 years. While this reunion is part of the storyline, fans hope it might signal the mending of their real-life friendship. Time will reveal whether these two pillars of women's evolution can rekindle the bond that once defined their careers. Our next one features two heavyweights. Booker T was imposing for sure,
that was a lot
but so was
between
Batista.
them two. Now I get
Batista
it.
rose to prominence in
What the hell is this
WWE
picture?
after
What
winning the
is it?
2005 Royal Rumble.
Why they got Booker T looking like one of them fish off SpongeBob? Why they do Booker T like this?
match.
The goddamn the AI gotta stop. The AI has to stop, please.
And defeating Triple H at WrestleMania 21 to win his first World Heavyweight Championship.
We need a ban on AI.
Despite WWE's decision to make John Cena the company's face, Batista was still a big deal, and the animal supposedly let all of his success go to his head after moving to SmackDown. Batista irritated many of his co-workers, resulting in a backstage brawl with Booker T. Backstage, the two allegedly got into a battle, with many claiming the former WCW champion came out on top. Booker T said he had issues with him for a long time. He went up to him and told him that, while he didn't like him, they should stay professional inside the arena. He then warned Batista that he would have to deal with his fists if he ever crossed him.
Ooh.
He further claimed that Batista despised him because he was usually loud. On the other hand, Batista denied being excessively pompous and said he never disrespected his fellow WWE wrestlers. He did confirm what Booker T claimed about the long-brewing enmity. Regardless, these two got into it, and according to sources, Rey Mysterio tried to calm things down, but it didn't work.
Nah.
Booker T was the one who challenged Batista, which sparked the fight. Fit Finlay, a witness, had a different perspective. He said Batista won. On the other hand, Batista was prepared for another bout and said he was willing to go at it again to settle the matter.
Oh.
Thankfully,
Really?
their feud was settled.
Yeah.
Which of these feuds was more intense and rooted in deep hatred?
The CM Punk and Jeff Hardy one was really interesting. And then the Charlotte Flair and Becky. I didn't know, like I knew they had a friendship in the past, but it just sounds like a lot of jealousy coming from Charlotte's part. Because of how Becky was being pushed. But like, I don't know, that's sad though. Because of how they're pushing her, you let your jealousy kind of just like take over. I don't know, that was a lot. I did not know it was so much between them two. Because then I heard about the part where they did like a belt exchange or something and she dropped the belt and people were like trying to, like, you know, people were saying like, was it on purpose or was it on accident? After hearing that, if it's all true, I feel like it was on purpose. And she's trying to play like it was an accident. Like, girl, please, you did that on purpose. I don't know. That's just my opinion though. But that's gonna do it for this reaction. Make sure to leave some likes and comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next one. Toodles.